Outside Health and Fitness Podcast, episode 125. What to do when lightning strikes.
Welcome to the Outside Health and Fitness Podcast. We're getting outside the box, outside our comfort zone, and outside and in shape. If you're bored with the same old fitness routine at the gym and you're ready to try something new, then this is the show for you. We're exploring new and fun ways to get fit on the trail, on the water, on the slopes, and outside.
Hi, this is Steve Stearns from Outside Health and Fitness, and thank you for joining me for another episode of the Outside Health and Fitness Podcast. If you're new to the show, we like to stay fit and active by having fun outside. We like to ride, slide, run, walk, hike, bike, golf, golf, swim, and ski. If it's fun outside and it keeps us healthy, we love it. So if you're like us and you like to have fun outside, then you found the right place. Do you know what to do when lightning strikes? You know, lightning is one of the most powerful forces in nature and something every outdoor athlete needs to take seriously. But there are a lot of myths and misconceptions about what to do to stay safe in a thunderstorm. On today's show, we're going to bust those myths and talk about how to stay safe from lightning strikes. So the first popular myth is that lightning strikes are rare. This isn't true. In fact, lightning strikes the United States about 25 million times a year. Every year, people are killed and hundreds more are severely injured. Unfortunately, many lightning victims simply ignore or don't take warning signs seriously.
80% of lightning strike fatalities are men who stay outdoors during approaching storms. These victims pay the ultimate price needlessly and leave their families behind to face a life of loss and sorrow. If you could hear thunder,
week in June set aside every year as Lightning Safety and Awareness Week. And although most lightning occurs in the summer, you can be struck at any time of year. So how can you avoid being a victim? Well, the best advice is to avoid being caught outside during a storm, because there is no safe place outdoors when lightning strikes. Plan ahead and stay up to date with the latest weather forecast. One of the best sources of up-to-date weather is a NOAA weather radio. But if you don't have a portable radio, you can still stay up to date through the internet, a smartphone, radio, or TV. You can also see signs of an approaching storm. If you watch the sky and you see dark, towering clouds that look like cauliflower or broccoli, a thunderstorm may be approaching. And then listen for thunder. If you hear it, start taking precautions right away. A good mantra for outdoor athletes is, when thunder roars, head indoors. So most victims of lightning are struck just before or just after a storm because they don't seek shelter right away, or they go back outside too soon. It's a good idea to wait 30 minutes after the last roll of thunder before you head back outside. So how do you know where the storm is or where the lightning is? Well, you can figure out how close lightning is by watching for a flash and then counting the seconds until you hear the thunder. As you know, sound travels more slowly than light. In fact, sound travels 1 mile in 5 seconds. So you can divide the seconds between the flash of lightning and the sound of thunder by 5 to get a rough estimate of how many miles away the strike is. So it can be handy to know where a strike is and to follow the storm using this method. However, the National Weather Service says if you hear thunder, lightning is close enough to strike. So seeking shelter immediately, no matter how far away a strike is always the best course of action. So if you think a storm is coming, seek shelter. If you're above tree line, get below tree line as soon as possible, and avoid being out in open areas where you are the tallest object. And speaking of tall objects, another common myth is to find a tall tree to take shelter under. This is a bad idea. Don't stand under a tall tree or the tallest object you find. Lightning may strike that object and transfer through the ground to you. Instead, look for a substantial shelter like a building. But what if you can't find shelter? And what if you can't get below tree line? Well, if you're unable to find shelter, crouch down as low as you can and keep your feet together. If lightning strikes nearby and travels through the ground to you and you have your feet together, it will most likely travel up one leg and down the other, missing vital organs like your heart. Again, crouching is a last resort. Shelter is always your best option. Another lightning myth is that you should lie flat on the ground. No, bad idea. Don't lie flat on the ground. When you lie flat, you actually become a larger target for a lightning strike, and a strike nearby will likely run through the ground to you. So what if you're on water? Well, if you're out on the water or you're in the water, get out as soon as possible. Water is a conductor of electricity and not where you want to be during a storm. Another conductor of electricity is metal. So you want to avoid touching things like umbrellas, hiking poles, tent poles, and make sure to stay off your cell phone. So what about a car? Don't the rubber tires protect you from lightning? Nope, that's a myth too. Okay, to clarify, it's the rubber tire part that's the myth. Getting in your car for protection is actually a good idea. In fact, next to a shelter, it's the best protection you have from a lightning strike. Here's how Minute Earth explains it.
Electrons glide so easily over metals that they barely penetrate into the surface. And if an electrical current happens to be moving over a hollow metal container, like a can or a box or even a welded coat of armor, the current won't reach the inside of the container. Physicists call this kind of container a Faraday cage, or in the case of the steel-woven clothing worn by linemen working on high-voltage wires, a Faraday suit. In fact, your car is an everyday example of a Faraday cage, which is why, despite what you may have heard about rubber tires, it's actually the closed metal chassis surrounding you that keeps you safe. It channels lightning around rather than through you. Of course.
So now that you know what to do to avoid being struck by lightning, let's talk about what to do if someone near you or in your party is struck. When someone is struck by lightning and dies, the cause is cardiac arrest. If you're with a victim, call 911 to get professional medical help. And after your call, start CPR if possible. Even if someone appears to be dead with no pulse and no breathing, CPR can help revive them. Another common myth about lightning is that lightning victims are electrified and dangerous to touch. This is not true. About 90% of lightning victims survive, so your first aid may save a life. Other common injuries from lightning strikes are burns, wounds, and fractures, so use your first aid to assist with those injuries until help arrives. So now you know what to do if lightning strikes. Remember, if you hear thunder, get inside and seek shelter. If a building isn't available, a metal-top car will do. And as a last resort, crouch low. By keeping an eye on the sky and taking lightning seriously, you can avoid being killed or injured in a storm. Stop by outsidehealthandfitness.com/125 for links to everything we talked about in the show today and more information, including a free downloadable guide to lightning safety for hikers and campers. While you're there, be sure to sign up for our free weekly newsletter and stay up to date with more information on getting outside and in shape. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Outside Health and Fitness Podcast. I hope you got something of value from the show today that helps you get outside and in shape. For more on taking your health and fitness outside, visit outsidehealthandfitness.com and subscribe to the show. Until next time, I'll see you outside.